Have you ever wondered what it's like to own your own business? Be your own boss? Welcome to Season 7 of Business Mentorship, Keepin It Real, where we meet with corporate leaders who have taken the leap to business owner and join us as part of the shareyourstoriesonline series. Hello, I'm Trish Tonak, and today we're going to meet a small business owner, celebrate their great idea, and introduce you to the person behind the logo. We invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to the show. Our guest joins us from Atlanta, Georgia. KC Sullivan is the founder of Curating Confidence, a strategist and image consultant dedicated to helping others not only feel beautiful in their own skin, but understood, seen, and empowered. KC is going to share her story on entrepreneurship and give us a behind-the-scenes look into the life of a small business owner. I'd like to welcome and introduce everyone to KC.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Trish.
You know, this is going to be such a wonderful conversation because I'm actually a huge fashionista, like I love fashion. I'm always out there, online taking a look at the deals and the latest and the greatest.
Right.
Your bio, I noticed that you've got 20 years experience in the fashion industry. So you clearly had a stellar career. How did that expertise actually create opportunities for you to become an entrepreneur?
So that's a really great question because I did not start this ever thinking about doing entrepreneurship. I have worked in many facets of the industry. Mm-hmm. So I think the variety that I have pursued just kind of by learning and growing and being like, I still love fashion. Also, this isn't quite my right fit.
Right.
Really allowed me to grow an expertise of different areas of it, which learning new skills, learning how to put yourself out there differently, learning how to just go for it and learn on the fly, which is exactly everything you're doing in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it made me more well-rounded, I guess I would say, in the fashion world.
How did you sort of decide on becoming a stylist? Because, I don't think that when I took a look at your credentials, I don't think that our viewing and listening audience has any idea that there's actually a certification process to become a stylist, right? We see the fashion awards and, someone makes a comment, oh, my stylist picked this out. And we think, really? Wow. How does one become a stylist? So give us a little behind the scenes as to that certification process.
Absolutely. So I actually started in school for fashion design and I have a degree there, and thinking I would always kind of be on the design side of things. That was the original plan. And I had the blessing to get to work in facets of that, both with independent designers as well in the film and TV space. And that kind of actually maneuvered me into styling and understanding styling, because a lot of times in film and TV production, you're not always designing things, you're buying items ready to wear because it's more cost effective for the budgets, usually, not always, usually, unless you're doing like a big period piece or something that requires specific stuff. So that really kind of started lending itself into the styling space and understanding that side of things. I recognized working in that industry with people that are quote unquote considered the most beautiful in the world, that they were really struggling even with their own body image and how they showed up on screen and how clothes fit them, and having these nuances that I had just kind of unawareingly assumed that this was just an industry struggle. And then when I left that space and moved more into a corporate space, I started seeing it in my everyday life. I was surrounded by people really talented, really gifted in their role, and they were still struggling with self-confidence. And a lot of it had to do with image and presentation and body shape and all these things that we're told we need to be a certain way. And often we don't fit that standard that's happening at the moment. So I realized that, oh, styling can be an incredibly powerful tool for anybody. It's just understanding, like most of us aren't taught how to dress ourselves. We, our little kids, our guardian usually helps us, our mom or aunt or grandma, whatever. Or, then we become a teenager and we look to our peers, but we're never really taking intentional account for how do I feel in my body? What brings me joy? What makes me feel confident? And so being able to teach and empower people with those tools really kind of became the space that I fell in love with.
Right. And, I'm sure you hear all the time, someone will open their closet and say, I have nothing to wear.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
We're not taught about the clothes that may fit our body shape, which obviously changes over time. I mean, what we wore when we're teenagers are certainly not what we're going to wear in a corporate environment. And then again, not what we wear to a party or not what we wear grocery shopping or for a job
Yes.
interview. So there's various different facets of the image we want to present that we're also trying to convey our personality, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's really where the credentialing leans in. Like any skill you study or learn, it you have to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Style, I think, is assumed a lot of times that's just inherently you're either good at it or you're not.
Sure.
But I've worked in it for 20 years and I'm constantly educating myself and learning new things and getting credentials for different facets of that. So I have more expertise to serve a wider audience with their specific needs.
Sure.
And that's really where that credentialing kind of comes in, like any other study program.
Right. Now, what would you say is your ideal client? So is it the stay-at-home mom who's left the corporate world and has now decided that, they still want to look nice, but they have all these suits in their closet, which they clearly can't wear? Or is it the new executive, someone who's just left post-secondary education and is moving into the corporate boardroom and they, those casual clothes that they were wearing to the seminars at school just don't cut it in the boardroom? Or,
Absolutely.
or is it the folks that maybe are 50 plus who have transitioned out of the workforce and are now pursuing a whole different lifestyle change?
Mhm.
Because those are just some of the things that we experience as individuals, right?
100%. And honestly, I have worked with all three examples that you've given. I will say the common thread in my ideal client is they're in a season of transition.
Right.
And that transition can look so different, whether it's leaving school and entering a more advanced program or workforce, if it's transitioning into retirement, but you still want to be, several of them have still sitting on boards and they're trying to figure out how to navigate that nuance. And then you do have the stay-at-home mom or the postpartum. I work a lot with people struggling with medical, double mastectomies, people leaving the military that, you've not thought about the fact that your whole career, someone has told you what to wear, and now you're taking on a civilian role and, things shift, things change.
For
And it's
sure.
just being able to meet you where you're at right now in that transition and help set you up for success.
So, what if a client comes to you and says, I know I need help. I have no idea where to start. Should I go online and take a look at some of the latest fashion videos to see what the trends are? Do I try to figure out what looks good on me and my body shape? Like, how do I set myself up to even reach out to you and say, okay, I know I need help, but I don't even know where to begin?
Yeah, I think it's that moment when you realize that you're staring at a closet full of clothes and you always feel like you have nothing to wear.
Right.
That's the moment it's like maybe somebody could offer me some support
Mm-hmm.
because we tend to consume a lot of products. That's very normal for, especially here in America. Like we, on average, women are spending $2,000 on new clothes in a year on average. So some way more, some less, but that's the average. And statistically, we're wearing 20% of our closet 80% of the time.
So
So
true, because it's the comfort that we
it's
go
the
for,
comfort
right?
zone. And so you
Yeah.
buy things out of habit or you want that, you like the sale is too good to pass up. And I know because I'm just guilty. Like I'm so guilty of it. So you buy the thing and you haven't stopped and intentionally said, does this item serve me? Do I already own something similar? Do I
Right.
feel good in this? And maybe you've never even asked yourself that question at all. You looking at trends, you're looking at those things online, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think those are great tools to use for inspiration. But the starting block is really getting real with yourself and how you feel in your current body and season of life. And so I really say the stepping stone is starting with the awareness of what are your goals? Where are you heading in this next transition? What is your lifestyle like? So those clothes that you do get or utilize actually serve that lifestyle. What is your budget? What are you comfortable with? And then, like, how do you feel in your body? And what are the places that you feel really confident in? Or maybe what are some areas that you want a little more support around?
That's all really great advice, because I think, as we transition from one role to another, that can happen either in long spans of time or very short spans of time.
Yes.
Trying to figure out that, asking ourselves the question, does this go with my current wardrobe? Can I mix and match this piece?
Mhm.
Does it make any sense for where I hope to go? And am I relying on where I've been and where that comfort zone is in terms of clothing? But one of the things that you mentioned that's really hit home with me is that we wear, so little of our wardrobe. So 20% of our wardrobe, 80% of the time.
Yes.
Is that where this phrase, a capsule wardrobe, comes from? Because, I've been reading that in magazines and I've been
Mhm.
seeing it online. And, some people say, you have 30 pieces and that's your capsule wardrobe. Some people say, 10 pieces will be your capsule wardrobe. And I suppose that's the things that we gravitate towards in the closet. Is that really what they're talking about?
Yes and no. I think capsule wardrobe has kind of become a buzz thing,
Mhm.
and there's a value to it. I don't think it's right for every person. And that's where
Okay.
being able to kind of talk through what are your needs currently
Mhm.
would be able to help you discern, is a capsule wardrobe right for me? Is this the right time for me to have that? I by no means have a capsule wardrobe. I would say I'm very much on the excess side of things. However, I have curated it very intentionally over that time frame. So it's not that I'm just constantly buying to the sake of buying. It's that you take the time to be intentional with the curation. And so if you end up having more and that serves you and you like that variety, you know you're still utilizing it.
Right.
So capsules can be very empowering and they are right for some people. And yes, it is to help cut down that excessive buying, that excessive, the fashion industry is obviously known very much for its waste and the textile industry is very hard on the environment. So we've been talking a lot, a dialogue lately about how do we cut down on our consumption of fast fashion? A lot of that people jump to the narrative of, well, capsule's right for me.
Right.
Maybe,
Mhm.
maybe it's just shifting how you purchase and what you're purchasing. So some of that is just a reflection of like the trends we're hearing about, and some of it really is very helpful to certain people and is very empowering.
Okay, so we've got this huge demographic that you can serve. I mean,
Yes.
let's face it, women and men will be looking for some assistance at some point in time in how to pull that polished look together. How do you market to try to find the folks to work with? Is it strictly referrals? So I work with you and then I refer my friends to you, or do you actually have a strategic marketing plan that you use to try to reach your target market?
Oh my goodness, talk about entrepreneurship. This is such a growing lesson. Like I feel like it's constantly evolving. You start out and you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna throw spaghetti at the wall and hope something sticks. Anything to stick.
Right.
Yes, as time has gone on, being more intentional with marketing, referrals are always the best. Word of
Mhm.
mouth, because it's hard to put on paper the like takeaway benefit of a service I provide. Like
Sure.
it's going to be a different experience for every person, but
Mhm.
that word of mouth referral for me is gold for the aspect of someone you can see that like appreciation and joy and how much it changed their life in that season for them. And so that's
Sure.
always the best method by all means. But I do definitely have a newsletter I put out where we just talk about tips and struggles and things going on in common life that we're all facing as humans.
Sure.
So there's always like the newsletter strategy and the social strategy that I have, but I do also a lot of networking, both virtual and in person, building relationships with people, especially because what I do is such an intimate space. When you
Right.
start talking about your body and how you feel in your skin and letting someone into your closet, whether it's virtual or in person, it's intimate. And
For
building
sure.
that trust with somebody is vital for me and important to me because I want you to feel safe so I can really serve you at the best capacity. And so a lot of my marketing is just getting out there and meeting people and networking and getting to know people. And then the trickle down effect happens when you least expect it.
Yeah, isn't that the truth though, right? We, as you say, you throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall at the beginning because you're trying to find the right place, right?
Yes.
Let's find the right place. Let's figure out where is the best customer
Yes.
going to be. And I love that you also mentioned that you do this in person and virtual, because that was my next question. Now that we have these wonderful tools, you can virtually walk into somebody's closet with their computer or their iPhone, and they can
Hmm.
sort of show you where they're having issues or difficulties. What
Yes.
percentage of your business would you say is in person and what percentage is online? Is it become 50-50 or is it the
Yeah.
80-20?
Great question. It fluctuates. I wouldn't say it's always across the board, any one thing. During COVID, it was definitely more virtual.
For sure.
And then I had a huge pendulum swing to in person. And now I really am probably sitting at 50-50, 60-40 range right
Right,
now with a few more local than virtual.
right,
But it just kind of does this little back and forth. There's not been a consistent number there.
right.
Um, Either way, like one of the benefits that I have really enjoyed is I have an app that my clients get access to. So we virtually catalog their clothes.
How cool is
And
that?
so I can create looks for them that they can just pull from their phone. And it makes their, like, as they're learning what works for them and why, they get to see their clothes and see how I styled them. They can ask me questions. I can teach them about stuff. And it just makes it a really great tool to utilize to teach and to empower.
Yeah,
So, if you want to stay
that's
with me
really
forever,
cool.
great. But also, if
Yeah,
you're ready to fly on your own, I want you to feel
yeah.
empowered and confident to do that. And
One
that's
of the things
fun.
I noticed in your website was that you have a confidence calendar.
Yeah.
So does that marry with the app where you're giving people suggestions of things that they can do and where and build their confidence?
Yes. So that's actually a great question. I wouldn't say they're married at this point. The Confidence Calendar is my newest marketing endeavor, was my very first product launch. I started in the fall, and it was really a place for me. I do a lot of workshops and a lot of speaking. Again, that's kind of part of my marketing tactics. Go in and teaching and doing workshops on these things. And this was a tool that allowed me to share with anybody because it's such an attainable price point that if they're
Sure.
not quite ready to do the heavy lifting with someone in like one-on-one, these are like 5 minutes or less every day of the week throughout the calendar, has a tip, has a tool, has a thing, and it's focusing on building more self-confidence. It's focused on resetting your nervous system, and it's style challenges. So start thinking about your wardrobe differently. And the thing is I think that gets overlooked a lot in fashion, if you will, is how it makes us feel. And oftentimes it's not good. I say all the time, like, our clothes are not comprised of items, they're comprised of stories, stories of how we feel about ourselves. And every day when you get up to get dressed, you get reactivated in whatever that narrative is. And often we don't like our bodies. We feel like we're constantly trying to change something. Our bodies are shifting constantly. And so knowing how to control your nervous system is the first step to really feeling embodied and confident in your wardrobe.
So is that how you marry the neuroscience
Yes.
to the confidence building and empowerment? Because,
Mhm.
I'm sure everybody in our viewing, listening audience who's joined us today can say, wow, I remember that day that I wore that outfit and I got the job, or I
Yes.
wore that outfit and I had the most amazing time when I was out with my friends. And you're absolutely right. It's marrying the story to the outfit.
Right. Yeah.
And is that a new approach to because I always say I'm a mood dresser. I love traveling, but I hate the fact that I can't bring my whole wardrobe with me because when I get
So
up in the
relatable.
morning, right? Because when I get up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I really feel like, well, oh, that's at home. Mhm. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of, mentally take the time to decide how many pieces you want to bring and how that's going to travel when you're on the road,
Yes.
right?
That's so
So,
real.
I mean, is that not another aspect where we can say, you know what, I need somebody to help me curate the travel wardrobe because I'm only going to bring, and listen, all of us are now doing the carry-on route, right?
Yes,
We're
exactly.
trying to minimize exposure to lost luggage and all of those, especially for connecting flights.
I know.
So having something that's in one little carry-on bag. I mean, I know that, the gentleman who picks me up to go to the airport, the first time I came with a carry-on bag, I thought his eyeballs were going to fall out. He was like, is that all you're bringing? And I'm like, yeah, trying something new. And, he thought, oh boy, she's going to be buying stuff in another bag when she's away. Right.
I know.
But it's a whole mindset shift,
It is.
right?
It is. And understanding that I think often we have compartmentalized our closets. So we are like, this is my casual stuff, this is my work stuff, this is my going out stuff, whatever your compartments are.
Right.
I th- I really truly believe the most you can do for your wardrobe is to learn how to mix and mingle and cross those like more elevated pieces with your more casual pieces to create more opportunities for you to wear all of your items. And
Right.
again, that helps cut down on that 20-80 rule that we
Yeah.
see so much. We want to utilize more of our closets more often. And when you learn how to really like comfortably mix and mingle those items, it elevates your style, number one. It allows you to utilize more of what you've already purchased. And then you get to pack easier because you realize that this item can be worn three different ways if you bring in the right pieces to mix it with.
Right.
So you now can create 10 outfits out of far fewer items than you would have prior.
Yeah, that's so true. And
Yeah.
what I absolutely love is that you've tied in this idea that stories are related to how we feel, which lend itself to the items that we're wearing at the time. And I think that's a really important factor to tie everything together because our personality really does come from how we look, right? We're a very visual society.
We're very visual, and also it's been proven multiple times through multiple studies over the years. There's a term coined called enclothed cognition, and this is really where the Brian science comes in. Is it is science backed in how we feel in our presentation affects how we perform. So that's why people, when they roll out of bed and they go right to their computer, often they weren't feeling very productive. And it's because they hadn't shifted that mental thing in their brain that happened so organically when you got up and got ready for work. It
Right.
was like this switch that got turned in your brain. Okay, now we're ready to do work because we've changed our clothes. I put on my work clothes. I feel ready to do the tasks at hand. And as our
Right.
culture has become more casual, it's not per se a bad thing or a wrong thing. It's just understanding that how you feel in your clothes, whether they make you feel fidgety or successful or comfortable, does affect performance. And it's an internal brain thing and it's fascinating. But once you start realizing that, and then partnering it with the psychology of how you personally feel about your body and your self-image, this tool becomes, you don't realize how much power it has held over you until you start to really intentionally choose what's serving you and what's not. It's really cool to
Well,
watch.
I certainly can see how the workshops and the speaking, in addition to the one-to-one consulting, all becomes part of what you do because
Yes.
you can actually translate the skills that you have into a corporate environment, doing workshops for men and women who are transitioning into new roles because how they show up has a real huge impact on their productivity
Yes.
and their long-term success, right?
Yes. And Harvard has done a couple studies on it actually affecting the bottom dollar at the end of the day too. Like
So
personal
true,
presentation really does it's not necessarily about being a judgmental person of
right?
somebody else. It creates trust and likability when you connect with people and a lot of that story is nonverbal.
Well, I have to say, you and I could talk for hours and
I know.
hours because I not only find the topic really interesting, but I love, delving into my own psychology. Why have I been doing certain things? Sometimes you do things and you inherently don't understand why, and you've got the methodology into why. Sometimes we do the things that we do.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do in the guest blog is we ask folks to share 3 words of advice. So I'd like you to wrap up our conversation today by sharing with our viewing and listening audience why unapologetically be you is so important to you and curating confidence.
Absolutely. I needed that reminder through so many seasons of my life. Working, in fashion, especially when I was more in the like Hollywood space and trying to meet specific requirements. That's not the right word I'm looking for right now, but I kind of lost myself in trying to be the version I thought everybody else wanted me to be. And I was trying to fit a mold, and in that kind of lost myself. And when doing that, I really lost my power. I gave my power away because what makes me unique and special and talented, what I do, I was outsourcing for external validation. And as I kind of shifted and realized some of that stuff and started doing that internal work, and I started recognizing when I saw other people doing it, it broke my heart because I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. You don't need my validation. Like, I just want you to show up as you because that's what makes you fabulous at what you do. And I think recognizing that all of us have something unique that makes us extraordinary, being able to confidently own that and just remember to kind of come back to that, it will never guide you wrong. Whether you're working for somebody else or running a business or choosing your wardrobe, being unapologetically yourself is sustainable. It's authentic. You don't have to fight it. You're not worn out at the end of the day because you weren't trying to be somebody else or somebody else's version of you. And you're more productive and you feel better. And then you kind of collect the right people for you, and it makes the best friendships and the best relationships. And so I have just seen it in every facet of my life, and I have felt it so personally when I didn't listen to that. So that was the advice I had to offer.
Well, I have to say, Casey, that I'm really very appreciative of you spending some time with us today, because I think you've given us some new insight into it's not just the clothes that we wear. It's the self-image, it's the confidence, it's the empowerment that you feel when you wear the clothes that you choose. And I think that's really the connection that's so important. And I know that for anyone who's listening to us, everybody can all relate to the opening the closet and saying, I have nothing to wear. And I think you've given us a little bit of insight into how you can change that dynamic. So thank you so much for joining us. It's really been a pleasure.
Great questions.
Thank you. Thank you. And to you, our viewing and listening audience, I'd like to thank you for tuning in for this edition of Keeping It Real. I'd like to send my personal thanks to all of our sponsors for their ongoing support, and ask that you share and invite your friends and colleagues to subscribe to our show, Business Mentorship, Keeping It Real, found on YouTube and your favorite podcast channel. KC and I would like to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to meeting you next time when we meet another business owner and celebrate their great idea.